Right, because you got 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right. If you're like, I'm going to start to go to bed earlier, which is what I decided to do like 3 times a week. Right. So it has to be, hey, do this. So by 10 o'clock, I'm shutting it down. 11 o'clock, I'm asleep. Right. So my point is, it should be calendared if we're serious about it, because otherwise it'll get away from you. If you want to build a legacy, you're like, hey, I'm about to be a millionaire. Schedule that 2 hours a day that I'm going to work towards the business that's going to create the millions, the investments that are going to create the millions. Otherwise, we're hoping, but our dreams and the activity, the amount of time that we're putting towards a dream aren't congruent.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven and family-focused and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to another episode of the Self-Talk Experience.
I'm excited to be here.
I am too, Bougie Beans.
Yes. Follow me, I'm Bougie Beans. Yes.
Hey guys, I am excited about this episode of the Self-Talk Experience because I often hear people say things like, man, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time. You ever hear people get that excuse?
Unfortunately, I do, but I truly believe you have time for what you want to have time for.
Yeah.
Is that bad to say?
No, it's not. It's not bad at all. And, you know, and
what's the context of how you're saying it? Maybe expand on that for me a little bit.
Yeah. So it's exactly what you just said. Like, we really make time for things that are priority in our lives. Mm-hmm. And there are some times in different seasons that things change.
But there are also sometimes in some seasons where you really have to juggle a lot.
Right.
So I can see how you can feel that way.
Right.
But I guess it's all in how we manage it.
Yeah.
But I understand, especially I remember being a young mom when all 4 of the kids were younger and I was pulled in so many different directions as a wife, as a mom, as a friend, as a daughter, as an aunt. And it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you feel like you don't have the time.
Yeah.
But you really have it, but you just feel like you don't. So I can appreciate that.
Especially because of the one moment you do have, you know what I mean, to yourself. You're like, look, I don't want to do anything else in that moment. I just need a second because, like you said, all day long, maybe you're at work. And then the rest of the day, you got kids. And the rest of the day, got kids like it's a disease, right? I got the kids. But truthfully, we have 24 hours in a day.
We do.
And because times have changed, there's systems that people can use to help leverage themselves. Technology that can help leverage their time, right? There are books out on how to manage time and manage your schedule and to get more out of your day.
Right. And quite honestly, in some seasons, it takes a little bit more sacrifice than others. You can be in a season where you have to sacrifice maybe having that time to yourself just momentarily to get to a place where you can have more of it.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard when you're watching people around you or on social media who have the time.
Yeah.
You're watching them do everything and then you feel like you can't do it.
Yeah.
So it has to be, like you said, a way to figure out how to manage that and almost be inspired and motivated by others who are doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's key, right? We didn't talk about this episode, right? We just said, hey, let's talk about time.
Yes.
But we didn't really say specifically. And that's what I love about our episodes because they're so organic, right? And it's flow. So self-talk. I see you, girl. Let's go back and watch episode 1 and see how this one has grown. Anyway, so you're spot on because we can't judge people for what they decide to do with the 24 hours that they have.
Absolutely.
Because it's all in their priority. Mm-hmm. So when people say, well, I don't really have the time, I think it would be helpful to say, I didn't make this a priority.
That's a great self-talk.
Yeah.
So switch it and see how that sounds to you.
See how that sounds. Mm-hmm. Like, developing a relationship with God is not a priority for me.
Oh.
Yeah. Like if you're like, I don't have time to read the Bible. I don't have time, whatever religion, right? I don't have time to go to church. Well, I'm not making it a priority. Unless you work during the same time that church or a prayer meeting or something like that. That's a little different.
Right. But again, we're talking about seasons. In certain seasons, you have certain focuses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know that was tough for me because there were times when it was tough for us, right? Financially. Mm-hmm. And most of our audience knows that, so I won't go through all of that. But there were times where I could not go to some of the events that I used to go to that were developing me spiritually. Mm-hmm. And someone could have judged me and said, oh, you're putting that before God, right? But yet I would have felt uncomfortable going to ask folks, hey, can you pay for this? Can you pay for my mortgage? Can you pay? Right. So I'm like, so that's tough because I got my family needs to eat. But yet, there's Tuesday evening at church. There's Wednesday evening at church. There's Sunday service at church. And so I gave up some of those things.
Right. In that season.
Right. To develop our business. And again, the people who are closest to you support you in the priorities that you have. And it wasn't that I put my business before God. God was first in my life and still is. But it was that in that season, I need to put more time in the business. Now, the things that we've been able to do, the ministries we've been able to support and the philanthropic work we've been able to do, right. What a blessing. I don't even need to mention what it is because we don't do it for credit, but I'm just saying in terms of sacrificing and in a season, you said it perfectly, babe. In a season, your priorities may shift. And this is what messes people up because they're looking for a balance the entire time.
Right. Right.
And I think that's unfair. We beat up on ourselves because we're looking for, I got to spend equal time with family, business, spiritual life, health, right? That's just unfair. You're going to spend 4 hours at the gym, right? If you got 6 categories, 24 hours in a day, that means you're supposed to be at the gym 4 hours if you want balance. Right. So we're not looking for balance. We're looking for priority.
Right. And you have to be okay with allowing yourself to know that wherever you are, you're not going to always be there.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good space, whether it's not so good of a space.
Yeah.
Things change.
Yeah.
And everything evolves.
Right.
So you just have to sit where you are and be okay with it.
Right.
Until the time comes where it does change.
Yeah.
Right.
And look at you. Look at you. You're talking about change. You didn't even like change. The first few episodes, you're like, I don't like change. I hate. Now your self-talk is like, things change. People change. Seasons change.
They do. But
I love it.
Well, you know what I say now?
What?
Well, we were just talking about the other day that the day before everything changes looks exactly the same.
Yeah, that's so good.
You never know when that change is coming.
Yeah.
So you just have to know it's coming and be ready for it and be there for it.
Yeah.
Be there for yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if nobody else is there for you. Right?
That's so good.
So whatever today looks like, tomorrow could look totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. You never know. You can't say, well, it's been leading up to it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Sometimes it comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh my gosh. Yes.
Right.
Today was the day.
Yeah. Yeah. But even when this is so perfect because even when you're sowing seed and you're cultivating, the day before the harvest, day before you see the results, look just like the day before.
Right. Well, you walk outside. Monday and you just see soil. You walk outside Wednesday, you just see soil. You walk outside Friday, just see soil. And all of a sudden on Sunday, you're like, oh my gosh, yesterday there was nothing. Now there's something.
Right. So it was happening though.
It was happening.
Right.
But it didn't look different to you.
Right.
And that's what's hard.
Right.
Because it's looking the same.
Yeah.
And it's sounding the same and it's feeling the same. But something's happening in the process.
Yeah. And that's and this is a great point, right? Because it is about priority. And so if I say, hey, look, I just don't have time to go to the gym. How does that sound to me to say, living a healthy lifestyle and making sure that I'm going to be here for my kids and grandkids is not a priority for me.
Right.
So that's the so we just have to shift that and see how that sounds to us.
Right.
And if it sounds good, then perhaps we're on the right path. Like, that's not a priority for me right now because we may say things like, hey, look, returning all of these emails is not a priority for me right now.
Right.
And you may feel good about that and say, you know what, that's exactly right. Someone else says traveling right now is a priority for me. I'm going to make time for traveling. Someone else says, I love traveling, but it can't be a priority right now because of this. So that's why I said you can't judge, because two people could be at the same financial place and someone puts travel as a priority and someone else doesn't. Someone else says, hey, look, my oldest son is about to go to college. It's going to be our last time being able to travel like this again before he goes to Germany. And so traveling is a priority for them because of their situation.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That I don't know when the last time you've sat down and prioritized, but it would be important to do it. So that way, you know, okay, this should go on my calendar first because it's a priority.
Right. And you can't make people, like you were just talking about judging. You can't make people around you feel bad for what their priorities are.
Exactly
if
right.
They're not your priorities.
Ooh.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Because something's going to come around and you don't want it to come back to you.
Yeah.
When somebody doesn't agree with what you're doing or judging how you're doing things.
Ooh, you know what you just said though, right?
Yeah, but it's okay to be different. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Different necessarily isn't wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to appreciate when somebody doesn't see it your way.
Here's a little switch to that though.
Yes.
What if you're not someone's priority? Can't be upset at that either.
Well, that hurts, but that's honest, right?
Yeah.
You would rather somebody be honest with you. Sometimes they don't even have to.
Yeah. It's evident.
Shows.
Yeah.
It's evident.
Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah. Like, yo, I had time to call these folks back. I'm just going to call you back. Their priority, you're not.
It's the worst. Somebody's like, yeah, I talked to such and such for 3 hours yesterday. Oh, I texted them last week and they still got back to me.
Yeah. I mean, but it could be, you know, and again, I think the way we look at this too, and the reason why I think this is such an important self-talk episode is because we talked about so many different things on an episode, like don't take it personally. You don't know everything about everything that's going on, right? So we don't know everything that's going on in everybody's life. So sometimes we can make assumptions that we're not priority, but we really are. But in that day, there was a lot going on. So there's so many variables here.
There's so many variables.
Yeah.
That same person, when I talk to them, could say, well, I talked to them for 3 hours because they called me 10 times and I had to talk to them.
Right. Or they were going through such and such.
And I really didn't have time. I'm sorry. Like, there's so many variables. Like you said, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You really
So here's, you know, what I'd like to see all of us become better at. All of us. I include myself in this. Because we did this early on and it helped shape us to prioritize things that we felt were most important for us, for our present and our future. Right. Otherwise, you end up picking what you want most over what you want now over what you want most. Right. You don't want to pick what you want now over what you want most, but it will happen unless you prioritize. So what we did is we sat down and we said, what's most important? And then we put that in our calendar. I can tell, and my workout partners behind the calendar is about to say this, but I can tell when fitness wasn't as much as a priority anymore because it wasn't in my calendar first.
Wow.
I just like, oh yeah, we'll see if we can work out this weekend. When? I don't know. Call me tomorrow. But when it was a priority, it was 9 a.m. here, set right on Wednesday, and it was all scheduled. Right. And that's what I'm saying. Is your spiritual life as a priority? It's in there. So that way you don't accidentally schedule something else over top of it.
Right. You plan for it.
Right. Because you got 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right. If you're like, I'm going to start to go to bed earlier, which is what I decided to do like 3 times a week. Right. So it has to be, hey, do this. So by 10 o'clock, I'm shutting it down. 11 o'clock, I'm asleep. Right. So my point is it should be calendared if we're serious about it, because otherwise it'll get away from you. If you want to build a legacy, you're like, hey, I'm about to be a millionaire. Schedule that 2 hours a day that I'm going to work towards the business that's going to create the millions, the investments that are going to create the millions. Otherwise, we're hoping, but our dreams and the activity, the amount of time that we're putting towards a dream aren't congruent, and it'll never happen.
So true.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just say that, you know, I'm really giving you kudos because you calendared so much. And that way I never missed. I didn't miss the dance recital. I didn't say, oh my God, I didn't know because I already got the meeting now.
Right.
If the meeting was priority, then it was already in there.
But we work together.
Yeah.
And that's important too.
Yeah.
To surround yourself with people who support you and let them know what your goals are, what your priorities are. So they're not disappointed.
Yeah. Ooh,
right?
That's a whole nother episode.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, we like the family, we knew your schedule.
Yeah.
Right. So there were certain things that were non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But if we didn't know it, we would always be disappointed if we asked for something at a certain time and you weren't able to do it.
Yeah.
Or you weren't able to be there, or you weren't able to be a part of it. But because we've had these conversations.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure we include the people we care about.
Yeah. And like you said, and I just want to make sure that we know this, the seasons will change. Absolutely. So there were times where I put my business in the calendar first because we were so behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. You're like, babe, I need you to go, make it happen. And then I'll take, I got the kids, we'll figure it out. And so I put that in there first. Not that they were more important than the kids, but they were a priority at that point so that we can provide for the kids.
What we wanted most.
And that was for us. Somebody else, it could be something completely different.
Right.
And we can't judge and they can't judge. Well, shouldn't. All right, guys, this has been another self-talk experience. Remember, the things you're going to say to yourself, especially about priority, will determine what and even who you attract for yourself. God bless you guys. See you the next time.
And if I text you, text me back in a timely manner, please.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.